Still Life is the first recording album of Musica d'Autrora. It's a project that has been brewing for over a year, and we are dedicating it to the amazing music of the 17th century, particularly Italian, although we have a few other composers that were more in the Central Europe scene. It's an album not only dedicated to a particular sound, but also to composers that, let's say, thought outside of the box. Dario Castello is probably one of the most interesting composers of the early 17th century, and a composer that is pretty close to my heart. I always felt that it would be extremely interesting to experiment with the instrumentation of the basso continuo in order to put it more in contact with other musical forms of the time and of the place, such as the opera in Venice. Dario Castello, of course, probably made music with Monteverdi often and was in contact with the way those operas were conceived, with the basso continuo changing depending on the scene, changing depending on the character. And I always wonder what would happen if you apply those changes to some of his sonatas, that even when they are instrumental pieces, they are full of dramatic changes. Those sonatas change every few seconds to a completely different light, and I always wonder what would happen if, when the music becomes closer to a lament, you apply the instrumentation of a lament in an opera. That's why we are using a large continuo section. We are using lirone, violone, guitar, theorbo, organ, harpsichord. It's a massive band that we are assembling only for a couple violin sonatas, but the result is extremely suggestive.
Of course, something like these Castello sonatas that I had absolutely never heard, all of a sudden it's like you have this whole palette of sounds, colors that sort of unfolds in a space that gives them that room to breathe and to develop, which, again, you don't really get in many places. So I think in that sense, when I first heard them, I was quite shocked in a positive sense. Most of the time, in spaces that are not churches like this, even pretty large concert halls, you find yourself using a little bit of digital reverb. Not so much because the place doesn't have the right reverb, but because at the end of the day, when you're mixing the project, you realize you're missing something. In a space like this, and using the types of microphones we have, that would never be the case. So what you hear really is the true sound. I hope that the album that comes out will be mostly almost unprocessed sound. Of course, that's not really the case, but really very close.
So for this album, I'm using a different setup than I normally use. This bow is a early 17th century violin bow, and it requires you to hold the bow from the hair and not from the stick. This bow hold in particular gives a very unique articulation to the violin that normally doesn't happen when you hold the bow from the stick. The down bows are much stronger than the up bows, for example, a vowel and consonant. This bow hold gives so much to the music that we're playing in this album because it's music that needs to speak.